computer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's start today talking about the format of the thesis. Then, inshallah, I will talk about some methods for discourse analysis in general. But at the beginning, I'd like to talk about the format of the thesis at Yarmouk University here. What should you start with, and so on. Yeah. You should start your thesis first of all with the title page. I'll show you now how can you arrange the title page. I'll give you a real example here. I'll share it with you. I hope you can see that. So yeah, this is the title page. You have to put the motto of the university here, then the title of your thesis, and by your name, then the supervisor of your thesis, Dr. X, Dr. Y, program, translation, and the date of the discussion. The date of the discussion or the date of the defense of your MA thesis. After that, this page is very important, guys. This page comes after the title page. Here, you have, again, you have the title of your thesis. You have your name, BA in translation, BA in English language, and etc. 2013, for example, 2020, etc. Yarmouk University, etc. The name of the university that you have obtained your BA degree from. Also, you have to add this information here: a thesis submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts in Translation in the Department of Translation, Yarmouk University, Erbil, Jordan. You have to add this information here, and you have to add the examining committee approved by examination committee or the examining committee. You should start first of all with your supervisor, then the member of the thesis. We usually the protocol at Yarmouk University, your supervisor, then the internal examiner. Imagine, wallah, Dr. Ahmad Mathan, your supervisor is Dr. Al-Harahsheh, and the member at the university, Professor Ahmad Al-Harahsheh. So Dr. Al-Harahsheh will come first, then Professor Ahmad Al-Harahsheh will come next, and the external examiner must be the third one. The external examiner must be the third one. After that, after this page, this page has to be signed by all the members of the examining committee, and you should have live signatures. Why? Because by the time you go to the Dean of Scientific Research, they will not accept a copy from you, especially for this one. They will ask you for live signatures, okay? So be careful. You have to prepare at least 10 copies from this one, 10 copies. And all the examiner, after the defense of your thesis, and after you have done all the amendments that have been required from you, you have to prepare this form and to ask the members, after they check that, wallah, you have done all the required amendments that have been required or that have been highlighted during the MA thesis. And I think some of you attended yesterday a defense by Ghufran bin Isa, and I think you have an idea about the discussion of how to start the discussion or what types of questions that will be raised during the discussion and so on. And I always encourage you to attend these events simply because you will learn a lot from them, because you are going to write a thesis, inshallah, and you have to keep in mind the questions that have been raised by the committee, the examining committee, something that you haven't thought about before, but this will help you a lot in the future, inshallah, when you try to write your own thesis. Oh, well, I have to take this point into my consideration. Oh, wallahi, I have heard X a member, for example, of the committee have raised this issue, so I have to take care of this point, and so on. So this is why I always encourage you to attend the defense of any MA thesis in our department. This department, there were about 9 students who have defended their MA theses at Yarmouk University, especially in the translation department. So I wish that you you should be updated, and you should go and attend these defenses. And by the way, they are open for all. They are open for all. Okay, anyone can enter and attend and listen, take notes, etc. Okay, now the dedication. Dedication, you should dedicate this thesis for your mother, your father, your husband, anyone you'd like. To the one, for example, who carried me for 9 months. This woman or this girl has dedicated this this thesis for her mother, to my mother, etc. Okay. After that, the acknowledgements. The acknowledgements, usually we nearly have the same format for the acknowledgements. First of all, you should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving you the power and patience for finishing this work. After that, you should thank your supervisor. You should thank your supervisor. It is obligatory. Your supervisor first, then the internal examiner, then the external examiner. Internal, your supervisor, internal examiner, then the external examiner. And also you should thank the your professors at the department, for example, and those who have helped you during your research journey. Your father, your mother, your family in general, your fiancé, maybe the librarian, for example, if he or she provides a help for you during your research journey, they may provide help by giving you some hints for or help for collecting or gathering the let's say some resources for your study. Also, you may ask, you may thank anyone who helps you during collecting your data, for example. Imagine, wallah, you have a friend who have distributed the questionnaire for you. You have to acknowledge him. You have to thank him in your thesis. Okay, yeah. After that, we have the table of content. So this format is very important, guys. And last time I talked about the table of contents and how can you do that. It's easy. And the table of content here, we have at the end we have bibliography, then المستخلص باللغة العربية أو الملخص أو المستخلص باللغة العربية. It will be at the end, right? Last time I talked about the abstract in English, and we said that it must be in English, it must be here. After the acknowledgement, you have transliteration symbols for Arabic vowels, if you have this. List of abbreviations, you have to use a list of abbreviations. SL for second language or source, ST, for example, for source text, for example, TT, target text, etc. MT for machine translation, for example, CAD tools, etc. You have to use all the abbreviations that you have used in your thesis. You have to make a table for them here. List of tables, if you have tables, and then the abstract, then chapter 1, introduction, statement of the problem, purpose of the study, theoretical framework, significance of the study, research questions, methodology. You can, by the way, you can, if you remember last time I said, we have two approaches. Even we combine the methodology with chapter 1, or we have it as a separate chapter. It is preferable to have it as a chapter, as a separate chapter. So chapter 1, you should have this information, and this must be chapter 3, methodology, population and sample of the study, data collection, data analysis, and theoretical framework. You have to take it from here and to include it in the methodology. Chapter 2, you have a methodology, right? Chapter 3 will be, sorry, chapter 3 literature review, chapter 2, chapter 3 methodology, chapter 4 will be the discussion, okay, will be the discussion, and finally we have the conclusions and recommendations. I will talk about them bimashiatillah today, inshallah, how to write this section. Now we have some methods for collecting and analyzing data. Let's have a look at interview method, and we talked about interview method last time. Let's talk about discourse analysis. Yeah, discourse analysis, we usually use discourse analysis method in analyzing our data. So we should understand, or we should have an idea about what is discourse analysis. Now, discourse analysis is, from its title, we should start with the definition of discourse analysis. What is discourse analysis? Discourse analysis is a research method for studying written or spoken language in relation to its social context. As you know, we have two types of discourse. We have written discourse and we have spoken discourse. Spoken discourse, when we talked about, let's say, subtitling, for example, when we talk about dubbing, when we talked about interpretation in general, consecutive interpretation, simultaneous interpretation, etc. Now, written discourse, when we talked about, let's say, literary texts, media text, for example, technical text, etc. Okay, now it aims to understand how language is used in real life. So this is the main aspect, or the main aim, or the main focus of discourse analysis, is to understand how language is used in real life situations. How do we use language in different social settings? Why do we use language? Why do we use this kind of language in this setting, for example? So yeah, this is the purpose of discourse analysis. On a daily basis, we use language for different purposes. We use language, for example, to make a complaint, to thank someone, to acknowledge someone, for example, to criticize someone. It depends. So that the type of language that we use in every social setting will be different according to the social setting. When you go to a funeral, for example, you should, if you'd like to show your condolences, you have to use a certain type of language. You should not say congratulations, Mubarak, at a funeral. You will be in trouble here in Jordan, right? Or wherever you go. So you have to express your sorrow, your support, sad feelings. No, I feel so sorry about the loss of X, and so on. In Arabic, for example, we say عظم الله أجركم رحم الله فقيدكم. Okay, but when you attend a wedding party, for example, you can't say عظم الله أجركم أو رحم الله فقيدكم. You will be in trouble, right? So you have to use a different kind of language. So this is what we mean by the use of language in different social settings. It will be different based on what? Based on the social setting itself. When you do discourse analysis, you might focus on the purpose and effects of different types of language. We have different types of language. We have, as I said, if you'd like to show condolences, to show your greetings to someone, to show your happy feelings, sad feelings, etc. Also, we have direct language. We will talk about, inshallah, and some real examples now. Cultural and conventions in communication. Also, you have to take care of the cultural rules in communication. When a male talk to a female, and you have to be somehow careful by the type for the type of language that you use. And when you talk to an old man or an old lady, it will be different from when you talk to a young lady. If you talk to a friend, it will be different from you talk to a stranger, for example. How values, beliefs, and assumptions are communicated. How language use relates to its social, political, and historical context. Yeah, when we use language here, for example, we are in Jordan, for example, we have our cultural norms, right, and our cultural rules, and we as Jordanians, for example, we have let's say, a shared background knowledge about these rules. What is permissible, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable in a certain social setting. Okay, we know, for example, and we acquire this from our parents, yeah, and from the environment in general. Wallah, this is a shame, don't say that, you have to say that. Okay, yeah. What is discourse analysis used for? Conducting discourse analysis means examining how language functions and how meaning is created in different social settings. As I said, it can be applied to any instance of written or oral discourse, as well as non-verbal aspects of communication, such as tone or gestures, body language in general. We can use a discourse analysis as a method for analyzing this kind of discourse, because we have certain signs. بالسيميوتكس, for example, اللي هي raising finger or hailing someone, or facial expressions in general, it has a meaning. لما بتغمز لواحد او بتغض على شفايفك مثلا، او بتطلع عليه بنظره هيك بتطعج راسك او it has a meaning. It has a meaning in Jordanian culture, for example, right? And we can communicate by they said that 70% of our communication can be by the use of body language. تخيل 70% من الطريقة المتحاور فيها احنا من استخدام البادي لانجوج. الماركتينج ماتيريال بوكس نيوز بيبرز، هلا انت ان شاء الله لما بدك تدرسي اعلانات, if you'd like to make or to conduct a study on the advertisements, for example, right, or in newspapers اللي هي الكولمز هذه, editorial columns, for example, or a news report, for example, مش هيك, او البيريوديكالز اللي هن المجلات الى اخره. البوكس الماركتينج ماتيريال اللي هي البروشورز والادفرتايزمنت ممكن تدرسهم, and you can what you can use discourse analysis, business government documents, for example, websites, forums, social media posts and comments. كلنا هذه we can use discourse analysis. Now we use discourse analysis when we analyze this data. الانترفيوز والconversations, for also we use discourse analysis. By analyzing these types of discourse, researchers aims to gain an understanding of social groups and how they communicate. Imagine when you analyze a certain advertisement for certain products, for example, for old people or for ladies, for example, the advertisements, we have different types of advertisements nowadays, and each type targets a certain group of people. For example, we have advertisements targeted young people, we have advertisement targeted old people, we have advertisements targeted young ladies, we have advertisement also targeted old ladies, and so on. So yeah, marketing, it's a game, nowadays. Okay, so yeah, you should, if you'd like to study, for example, advertisements related to furniture, for example, or advertisement related to women clothes, or to men clothes, for example, or to cosmetics in general, fragrances, etc. yeah, it will be different. The image, the way they talk, the way they show the colors, etc. They are different, right? Now, unlike how is discourse analysis different from other methods? Unlike linguistic approaches that focus only on the rules of language use, discourse analysis emphasizes the contextual meaning of the language. Here, you have to keep in mind, guys, when we conduct a discourse analysis, or we use it as an approach for analyzing our data, we have to focus on the contextual meaning. Without understanding the contextual meaning, you cannot understand, or you cannot provide a correct or a right, let's say, explanation for a certain situation. Okay. Last time I gave you an example. Imagine the phrase, I am hungry. I am hungry. If you and your friend is sitting in the classroom and it is the noon time, at the noon time, you may tell her that, you know, I'm hungry. That means she will say, let's go to the restaurant. Let's have some sandwiches, let's have a pizza, etc. So it means here the contextual meaning here is what? You know, it means I am hungry. That means I'd like to go to a restaurant. But if you see a bigger شحاد يعني sitting in the street and he has a billboard written on it, I am hungry. He's asking for money, right? He doesn't mean that, you know, he's hungry. Because if you give him a sandwich, he will say, oh, I'm not hungry, I need money. Give you money, don't give me food, right? So yeah, if this phrase is adopted or is raised by a group of professors, for example, or ministers, or, you know, high officials, or, you know, high, let's say, employees, the meaning will be different. They don't mean that we are hungry. They are asking for increase for their salaries. So we have the same expression in 3 different settings, and in each setting it has a different meaning, right? So the contextual meaning is very important. You have to take this into consideration, especially when you work with media text. When you work with media text, you have to provide the context. When you do discourse analysis, first of all, before you provide, you give the example, you should provide the context of situation for us as a reader in order to understand, wallahi, what is the social context, what is going around, why this speaker says blah, 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 especially also in literary translation. When you quote a term, for example, from a novel, you have to provide us with 2-3 lines, the context of situation. And wallahi, this sentence was said by X and he was drunk, he was, for example, happy, he was at a funeral, he was at a wedding party, etc. You have to give us the context of situation. Instead of focusing on smaller units of language, such as sounds, words, phrases, طبعا discourse analysis is used for the study, to study large chunks of language, such as entire conversations. Text, we are dealing here with text, with conversations in general, collection of text, and so on. Now, when we do conversation or discourse analysis, we focused on vocabulary. Words and phrases can be analyzed for ideological associations, formality, and euphemistic and metaphorical content. هلا لما تيجي تقول انت في اللغه العربيه كثير بتشوفوا في الصحافه الامريكيه بيقولوا the Persian Gulf, الخليج الفارسي. However, in Jordan here, it is prohibited to say or to translate it as الخليج الفارسي. You have to say the Arab Gulf, اللي هو الخليج العربي. لاحظوا انه الكلمه هذه مالها يا جماعه، او الفريز هذا it has an ideological association. بنقول دولة الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، جيش الاحتلال، ما بنقول دولة إسرائيل، لا نعترف فيها. لاحظ إنه هذا الشيء إيش؟ This is what? This is ideology. When we talked about words or phrases like this, and we have to be careful. إذا بتروح على بترا وكالة الأنباء الأردنية بترا, they will not say والله the state of Israel. Even if they have the state of Israel directly, they will translate it as دولة الاحتلال الإسرائيلي, اللي هي the occupying country. ماشي؟ grammar, the way that sentences are constructed, اللي هي الverb tenses, active or passive construction, and the use of imperatives and the questions can be reveal aspects of intended meaning. هلا بتشوفوا في البي بي سي مثلا بقول لك والله 2 Palestinians were killed yesterday. تمام؟ This is passive, right? هذا الباسيف it has an ideology. طيب لو بدنا نيجي نترجمها للعربي احنا بنقول استشهد شابان فلسطينيان برصاص قوات الاحتلال الإسرائيلي مساء الأمس مثلا أو صباح الأمس إلى آخره. لاحظ هنا they uncover the doer of the action. However, but in Arabic here we have to focus on the doer of the action, right? So this is an ideology. This is how to play with words, guys. Structure, the structure of a text can be analyzed for how it creates emphasis or builds a narrative. أحيانا في عندي التقديم وفي عندي التأخير وفي عندي focusing on a certain words, etc. الgenres اللي هي texts can be analyzed in relation to the conventions and communicative aims of their genres. في عندي political speeches مثلا، ناس تتعامل مع political speeches. في ناس tabloid newspaper articles. في ناس بتحكي مع technical text. في ناس literary text, etc. حسب نوع الرسالة أو الموضوع. non-verbal communication. non-verbal communication is very important, guys, in this course analysis, and it has a meaning. في عندي a tone of voice. في عندي pauses. There is a difference between pauses and silence. Pauses, you should have pauses, مش هيك؟ and يعني after each sentence you should have a pause. For example, yesterday I woke up at 7 o'clock. Pause. I washed my face and I had a bath at 6 past 10, for example. Pause. I had my breakfast at 6, 7. Pause, etc. So this is pause. But silence could be intentional or unintentional. And sometimes, if you imagine you'd like to say something, but you remember, oh, wallahi, this will be problematic for me, so I have to keep silent. Okay? So, yeah, silence could be, as I said, could be intentional or unintentional. Okay? في عندي البوز فيلرز بيسموهن هذول. Pause fillers such as hum. هذه it has a meaning, by the way. It has a meaning. It has a meaning in what? You give your mind a period of time in order to rearrange your thoughts, or to remember a certain, or to retrieve information from your memory. And this is an indication, or it can be used an indication for the other speaker, and I'm still holding the team. I'm still holding the team. Also, we have conversational codes here when we talk about the turn taking and interruptions. And someone is speaking and the other speaker interrupts him or her, etc. And listener response. Listener response, sometimes we call them continuous. Continuous, they are very important in communication, and they are functional. I'll give you an example. Imagine you are talking to someone, he will say, yeah, نعم, yeah, صحيح, مظبوط, تمام, yeah, لكن هذه كلها بسموها continuous. That means I'm listening to you. Go ahead. But imagine you have a speaker, you are talking to someone, and he or she is silent all the time. You will get angry, right? From him or from here, and you will directly will say, I'm talking to you. Why don't you respect me? Why don't you listen to me? Why don't you interact with me? Right? So silence here, it could be what? yeah, could be awkward here. You have to take care of this. How to conduct discourse analysis? Discourse analysis, again, it is a qualitative and interpretive method of analyzing text. You remember when we talked about qualitative text, you make interpretations based on both the details of the material itself and on the contextual knowledge. You have to study the whole text and you have to understand every single word in the text, the structure of the text, as we said, the structure, the grammar, and so on. You have to keep in mind, and also you have to use the encyclopedic knowledge. Encyclopedic knowledge, that means your of the knowledge and about the real world, or the knowledge that is related to the text itself. Imagine you are analyzing a text about the Russian-Ukrainian war, for example. You have an idea, you should have an idea of background information about this war and so on. If you analyze a text about a novel, a certain novel, wallahi, by Najib Mahfouz or whatsoever, you have to have an idea about this novel. Who wrote this novel? At what time it was written? What was the purpose of this novel? And the nature of the Egyptian society at that time, and the cultural norms that were prevailed at that time, and so on. So yeah, this is what we mean by the contextual knowledge, or the encyclopedic, especially encyclopedic knowledge. Yeah. First of all, you have to define the research question and select the content of analysis. To do discourse analysis, you begin with a clearly defined research question. Once you have developed your question, select a range of material that is appropriate to answer it. Discourse analysis is a method that can be applied both to large volumes of material and to smaller samples, okay, depending on the aims and the time scale of your research. This is an example. You want to study how a particular regime change from a dictatorship to democracy has affected the public relations rhetoric of business in the country. You decide to examine the mission statements and marketing materials of the 10 largest companies within 5 years of the regime change, for example. Yeah. Okay. Step 2, for example, gather information and a theory on the text, on the context theory. You must establish the social and historical context in which the material was produced and intended to be received. Gather factual details of when and where the content was created. متى الرواية هذه متى انكتبت ومين كتبها؟ شو الأحداث اللي كانت؟ هل مثلا لنفرض رواية لنجيب محفوظ، هل كانت مثلا خلال حرب أكتوبر مثلا، خلال حرب مثلا 56 إلى آخره، هل كان في فترة حرب، هل كان في فترة غلاء، هل كان في فترة انقلابات، هل كانت إلى آخره. يعني this will affect the way you analyze the text, by the way. Who is the author? Who published it? مين الكاتب؟ مين اللي نشرها؟ And whom it was disseminated to. مين هم اللي كانوا يعني لمين كانت هذه يعني موجهة. Okay, as well as understanding يعني the real life context of the discourse, you can also conduct a literature review on the topic and construct a theoretical framework to guide your analysis. مثلا you research factual information on the politics and history of the country and on the business you are studying, for example. You also research theory on democratic transitions and the relationship between government and business. يعني هذه could be يعني أمثلة ممكن زي ما حكينا رواية لنجيب محفوظ، أنت مثلا زقاق المدق أو أولاد حارتنا أو أي رواية بدك إياها. مثلا بإمكانك أنك أولا تقرأ عن هذه الرواية، متى كتبت ومين هم الشخصيات وشو الفترة الزمنية اللي كتبت فيها وعن إيش كانت يعني الأحداث، لأنه هاي الرواية بدها تصور واقع ومجتمع كان سائد أو عقلية أو أفكار كانت سائدة في فترة زمنية محددة. تمام؟ هذا اللي أنا مقصده. ثلاثة analyze the content for themes and patterns. الثيمز ممكن أجي أنا أحكي عن cultural expressions. cultural expressions بدي أصنفها، في عندي colloquial وفي عندي idioms وفي عندي taboo words مثلا، في عندي religious expressions. ممكن بتشوفوا مثلا نجيب محفوظ برواياته بيستخدم آيات من القرآن الكريم. تمام؟ ممكن أحاديث، ممكن أمثال شعبية، ممكن في تورية اللي هي البان مثلا، مش هيك؟ في بروفير، في سيميلي، في هذه كلها بدي اعمل لها كاتيجورايزيشن، اعملها ثيمز، وبالتالي اخذها وادرسها واشوف كيف مثلا تعامل معها المترجم. This step involves closely examining various elements of the material, such as words, sentences, paragraphs, and overall structure, and relating them to attributes, themes, and patterns relevant to your research question. مثال, you analyze the selected material for wording and statements that reflect or relate to authoritarian and democratic political ideologies, for example, including attitudes toward authority, liberal values, and popular opinion, for example. Themes زي ما حكينا, religious themes, proverbs, cultural specific words, مثلا في taboo words أحيانا ممكن تكون شيء. Yeah. Review your results and draw conclusions. Once you have assigned particular attributes to elements of the material, reflect on your results to examine the function and meaning of the language used. يعني أحكيها بس بالعربي حتى أوضحها. أنا يا جماعة أنا قرأت وحللت، إذا ما فهمت الكونتكست أنا ما بقدر أحلل. إذا ما فهمت الوقت اللي كتبت فيه الرواية هذه والشخصيات ولا مين كتبت ومين المستهدف فيه، فيعني ما بقدر أعمل أناليسيس. وحتى لو عملت أناليسيس بده يكون ماله ضعيف weak. You have to understand the whole context. إنه والله who wrote this novel والله at what time، أو مثلا media text who wrote it at what time. What does it يعني what is the main topic. You have to also to understand some words that have certain ideology and so on. Yeah, and then you should start your analysis, because you should support your analysis with real examples, right? This is one approach, or we have another approach. We have textual analysis. Yeah, this is another approach for analyzing your data. What is textual analysis? From the title, we text, right? Text. So we are dealing with text. Textual analysis is a program for various, it's similar to, by the way, it's similar to discourse analysis. For various research methods used to describe, interpret, and understand text. Again, all kinds of information can be gleaned from a text, from its literal meaning to the subtext, symbolism, assumptions, and values it reveals. It is wider than discourse analysis. Even here, you may study the cover of the book, for example, right? The methods used to conduct textual analysis depend on the field and the aims of the research. It often aims to connect the text to appropriate social, political, cultural, artistic, etc. We talked about this, by the way, when we talked about discourse analysis. You have to understand all the political dimensions, social dimensions, cultural dimensions, religious dimensions that surround the text that you are going to analyze. البعد هذا رح ندخل فيما بعد لشيء بيسموه critical discourse analysis. critical discourse analysis إنه you have to understand the linguistic dimension. تأخذ البعد اللغوي, linguistic dimension, social dimension, political dimension, cultural dimension, religious dimension, artistic context for example. كل هذه بناخذها احنا في الحسبان لما بنعمل analyzing ل certain text. وبتشوفوا مثلا انتم في الاعلانات اللي فيها صور مثلا، الصوره مرتبطه بايش؟ بالكونتنت، اجباري لازم تكون مرتبطه. يعني بتجيبوا لكم الكوزماتكس مثلا، بتشوفوا الكوزماتكس والله الشامبو، بروح بتجيب لك صوره واحده مثلا معروفه، ممثله معروفه وفاتنه وجميله والى اخره، وبركز الصوره على ايش؟ على انه الشعر، كيف هذا الشعر ناعم وكيف اصبح كذا واصبح كذا. هذه it has a meaning يا جماعه. They are trying to convince you about والله the quality of this product. Okay, هون في indication. الصورة لما تستخدم when they use the picture, any product, go to any product, you will find a certain picture. يعني this picture has an aim. There is a target for using this this picture on wallahi this product. They'd like to attract you as a consumer to buy this product and so on. So the term text as a product than it seems. هنا analysis of a short story might focus on the imagery, narrative perspective and structure of the text. Let's take a short story for example and start to analyze wallahi this short story. We should focus on first of all the characters, right? We have two types of characters in a short story or in the novel or in literature in general. We have two types of characters. We have flat characters and we have round characters. Flat characters, it has يعني a definite role in the literary work. However, round character, it is changeable during the story or during the novel or whatsoever. Also, we have the protagonist sometimes. We have the antagonist, the protagonist, antagonist, etc. Yeah, we talked about them. We should understand the characters. We should understand the setting, time, place, and we should understand the peak of the story, right? And we should understand the events that will go up till they reach to the climax, right? And then this climax will be changed during the story and so on. And then the concluding statement or the conclusion of this story or the moral lesson that this story will teach you. So yeah, to analyze a film, not only the dialogue, but also the cinematography and use of sound could be relevant to the analysis. بتشوف الموسيقى التصويرية هذه لما في حالة خطر بتلاقي فيه موسيقى، لما في حالة مثلا رومانسية بتلاقي الموسيقى مختلفة، في حالة خوف مثلا بتلاقي فيه موسيقى مش هيك مختلفة. هذه it has a meaning، صح ولا لا؟ في حالة الشك مثلا، في حالة إلى آخره. شوف الموسيقى هذه it has a meaning مش هيك؟ A building might be analyzed, for example, in terms of its architectural features and how it is navigated by visitors, for example. You could analyze the rules of a game and what kind of behavior they are designed to encourage in players. While textual analysis is most commonly applied to written language, bear in mind اللي انتبهوا لي على النقطة هذه يا جماعة، التكستوال analysis لأن من تكست، نحكي هنا عن إيش؟ نحكي عن written text. Bear in mind how the board text is and how varied methods can be involved. طبعا textual analysis in cultural and media studies هذا مشهور جدا نستخدمه احنا في دراسات الترجمة. In the fields of cultural studies and media studies, textual analysis is a key component of research. Researchers in this field take media and cultural objects, for example, in music videos, social media content, billboard advertising, treat them as text to be analyzed. بنشوف هسه في حملات دعائية مثلا للانتخابات، وبنشوف شو العبارات اللي بيكتبوها، الشعارات مثلا بشكل عام، أي شيء في الدعايات، فيؤخذ هذا وتتم مثلا ترجمته ويتم دراسة ترجمة له. أحيانا بتلاقي في إعلانات لآيكيا مثلا في باللغة العربية وفي باللغة الإنجليزية، أكيد الإعلان اللي بالعربي بيختلف عن الإنجليزي. فيه لو رحت أنت مثلا على الإعلان الأصلي راح تلاقي في اللغة الإنجليزية مثلا حتى الصورة بتختلف، حتى العبارات بتختلف، حتى الممثلين بيختلفوا إلى آخره، لأن هذا موجه يعني لسيرتن culture، مش هيك؟ they might analyze many different aspects of the text. احنا لما بيجينا أي نص يا جماعة بدنا نحلله، أولا في عندي الويرد تشويس، اختيار المفردات اللي موجودة فيه، الديزاين element، location of the text. هلا اطلع لي على مثلا إعلان، بدك تشوف الكلمات اللي اختارها، بدك تشوف الكلمات اللي اختارها. يعني لو رحت على إعلان لأي منتج أنت مثلا مع مألوف أو إحنا بنعرفه، راح نشوف مثلا وين موجود هذا الإعلان. مثلا مثلا لو أخذنا ماكدونالدز، مش هيك؟ دعاية ماكدونالدز مثلا على سبيل المثال، احنا ما بنعمل له دعايات، بس احنا يعني بس خلينا بس ثواني بالله أورجيكم مثال، بس خلينا نشوف إنه يعني خليني بس أورجيكم شغلي هيك بس للمثال فقط لا غير، يعني مش هيك؟ طيب خلينا بس أعمل شير لهذا المثال بس مشان أوضح إنه جماعة لو شفنا هاي الصورة مثلا، طلعوا هنا مثلا الشعار وين موجود، تمام؟ هاي مثلا لو أخذنا هذه مثلا، شوف الشعار وين موجود، شوف الكلام وين موجود، شوف الألوان كيف موجودة، حبة لونج نين بيف مثلا، وجبة لونج لونج بيج تشيكن إلى آخره، بيج تشيكن إلى آخره. لاحظ كيف هذه لها رمزية معينة. شوف الكلام وين موجود، شوف الصورة وين موجودة، تمام؟ شوف السعر وين موجود، لون بني فوق بشكل، السعر أكبر، حجم الفونت تبع السعر أكبر من الكلام اللي موجود هون. ولاحظ انه موجود فوق جديد لجذب النظر مثلا، مش هيك؟ ميجا توفير، ميجا توفير، على طول احنا بنقول انه هذا الشيء ماله جاذب للنظر. شوف هذا هون مثلا، هنا لون اصفر، لون يعني له دلاله معينه. الان لاحظ هنا خطوط حمر مثلا، عرض التوفير خط صغير، بعدين سعر اقل اكبر لون اصفر لانه جاذب للنظر اكثر، مش هيك؟ لاحظ، شوف هنا هي كونها ممكن يعني تجف الزبون نوعا ما وتخليه انه يبعد، اللي هي دينار للوجبه شامل الضريبه، شامل الضريبه. ممكن هذه لاحظ انها برضو كمان بأزرق، دينار الوجبة شامل الضريبة، هذه الناس اللي بتحبها، مش هيك؟ بغض النظر يعني انه احنا مش ما بنسوق له، ما بنسوق لأي أحد احنا، بس انه مثال انه كيف ممكن بدك تحللها بكرة او تشتغل عليها. بغض النظر ممكن تاخذ اي شيء. تارجت اودينس مين مثلا هم، relationship with other text مثلا، علاقته بنصوص أخرى. Textual analysis in this context is usually creative and qualitative in its approach. اللون، ناخذ اللون، ناخذ الفونت، اللون تاع الفونت، الأرقام مثلا، هذه الصورة كيف وضعها. بتشوف أحيانا في بعض المنتجات بحط لك عليها صورة مثلا سيدة فاتنة جميلة إلى آخره للجذب، مش هيك؟ Textual analysis in the social sciences مثلا. in the social sciences textual analysis is often applied to texts such as interview transcripts, surveys للي بدهم يعملوا interviews وبيعملوا surveys بإمكانهم يستخدموا textual analysis as well as various types of media. برضو كمان اللي بده يدرس الميديا، اللي بده يدرس على الإعلانات الموجودة على السوشيال ميديا in general, you can rely on textual analysis. You can use it as a theoretical framework or as a method for analyzing your data. Textual analysis in the social sciences sometimes takes a more quantitative approach where the features of the text are measured numerically. أحيانا ممكن نعد، بالذات إذا بدنا نحكي عن words لها ideology معينة، مثلا والله هذه الكلمة تكررت كذا في الداتا، هذه الكلمة إذا بدي أستخدم الكوربوس مثلا، أو بدي أستخدم الكونكوردنس مثلا اللي هو سوفت وير بيعد لي الكلمات اللي موجودة، ممكن أستخدم الكوانتيتيف في الحالة هذه. بس هي بالغالب ما لها كواليتي، بالغالب هي كواليتي. في literary studies يا جماعة شوف textual analysis is the most important method in literary studies. Almost all work in the fields involves in-depth analysis of text اللي هي novels والpoems والstories والplays. أكيد في عندي moral lesson. يعني behind any novel, behind any poem, behind any story, behind any play, there is a moral lesson. The writer is going to tell us something. في عنا بسموه الدرس الأخلاقي، يعني إنه الكاتب بده يوصل لنا رسالة من خلال هذه القصيدة أو من خلال العمل الأدبي. وإذا إحنا ما كنا على دراية بالنص وبالظروف المحيطة بالنص, it will be so difficult for us to understand how to analyze the data. So yeah, you have to understand all the aspects related to the text, the social aspect, the cultural aspect, the historical, the religious, the political aspects, etc. That surrounds the text in order to understand and know how this will help me in the process of analyzing the data. هو مش بس انه للاسف انه بعض الناس ماخذين فكره بيجوا بقول لك والله بدي اجيب هالامثله وهاي ترجمه وهاي ترجمه وقابلهم، والله هنا في خطا 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 خطا. طيب صوت بدي تشرح لي، بدي توضح لي انه ليش هنا اخطا. Why he should use idiomatic translation rather than literal translation. Why he should not use والله this word in this context. You should tell me, you should convince me as a reader انه والله by using textual analysis انه والله the intended meaning or the contextual meaning here in the novel was blah 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 blah. So this word or the use of this word is inappropriate in this context. So he or she should use this word instead of that word because this word fits more than that word, especially in this context. All right. Yeah. في عندي برضو خلينا بس نشوف شو اللي ظل عندنا في هذولي. discourse analysis حكينا عنها، والانترفيو ميثود يا جماعة حكينا عنها. ما بدي بس خليني بشكل سريع بس بلاقي أعرج عليها بس بشكل هيك سريع. الانترفيو ميثود ريسيرش اللي هي انترفيو طبعا مثل ما اتفقنا انه is the verb of conversation between two people with the object of collecting relevant information. شوف لي types of research data collection techniques. اول شيء في عندي research data، في عندي secondary data، وفي عندي البرايمري data. البرايمري data هي اللي انا بتهمني هون بدي اشتغل عليها. البرايمري داتا يا بتكون كوانتيتيف يا بتكون كواليتيف اور ميكست ابروتش. نيجي للكواليتيف يا جماعه. فوكس جروب انترفيو، كنا بتجمع 6 أو 7 اشخاص وانت بتدير النقاش. تمام. الدبث انترفيوز بتكون معمقه اكثر. وفي البروجكتيف تكنيكس يعني انك يعني it's a kind of projective rather than يعني in-depth interviews. طيب في الكوانتيتيف هون survey data مثلا، observation data، الاكسبيرمنتال طبعا هذا ما لناش فيه احنا. في البيرسونال انترفيوز وفي التليفون انترفيوز احيانا بتكون. عندي مثلا خلينا نتناولهم هذول التايبس اوف انترفيوز: بيرسونال انترفيوز، تليفون انترفيوز، فوكس جروب انترفيو or interviews, depth interviews والprojective techniques. البيرسونال معروفة in face-to-face interview, right? For methods of conducting a personal interview, there is a lot of preparation. You should select the most appropriate or most suitable time for the interviewees. يعني you should ask them what is the most appropriate time for you to conduct this interview. You should conduct an interview at their convenient time rather than at your convenient time. عندك الرابورت building اللي هي العلاقات يعني يسموها هذه. Interview should increase the receptiveness of the respondent by making him believe that his opinions are very useful to the research and is going to be a pleasure rather than ordeal. أنا بدك تقنعه إنه رأيك مهم جدا في دراستي، مش هيك؟ في introduction interviewer should increase the receptiveness of the respondent by making him believe. حكيناها هذه on involves the interviewer identifying himself by giving him his name, purpose, sponsorship, if any. An introductory letter goes a long way in the conveying of the study legitimacy, the consent letter. The propping is the technique of encouraging the respondent to answer completely, freely, and relatively. Don't interrupt him or her. ما تقطعوا عليهم، خليهم يحكوا. في الريكوردينج طبعا the interviewer can either write the response at the time of interview or after the interview. In certain cases يعني where the respondent allows for it, audio or visual aids can be used to record answers. وبدك you have to ask for permission. The closing after the interviewer should thank the respondent and once again assure him about the worth of his answers إلى آخره. التليفون انترفيو معروفة شو هي. focus interviews زي ما اتفقنا focus group interview is an unstructured interview which involves a moderator leading a discussion between a small group of respondents on a specific topic. Focus group interview results in advantages summed up to 10. They are يعني followed. بسموها synergism, snowballing, stimulation, security, spontaneity, serendipity, specialization, structure, speed, scientific synchronity, etc. يعني بغض النظر انت يعني the focus is to collect as much information as you can by conducting a discussion or a group of discussion among a group of respondents. Depth interviews طبعا بسموها non-directive in nature where the respondent is giving freedom to answer within the boundaries of the topic of interest. The projective techniques هذا آخر شيء. قال لك projective techniques involve the presentation of an ambiguous, unstructured object, activity, or person that the respondent is asked to interpret and explain. أحيانا بدك تشرح له كل شيء. Now, projective techniques, the respondents are asked to interpret the behavior of others, and this way they indirectly reveal their own behavior in the same situation. Okay, هذا بالنسبة للinterviews. Sorry. Right. I will stop here.